Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ful-on, your Fulham-centric football podcast. I'm your host, Ash Woolford. Joining me this week for our Aston Villa preview is our co-host, AJ. How you doing?
Yeah, all good, all good.
And our other co-host, Drew. How you doing, Drew?
I'm doing well. For tonight, I've broken into someone's house because I'm bored of my own place. So I hope people watching appreciate the effort that I've gone to.
You're going to give us a nice piano number in a little while.
Well, I don't want to attract attention of the neighbours, okay? And I might be scarce after tonight because there will be a bolo for me.
Obviously, guys, we're here to talk about the Aston Villa game coming up over the weekend. It's been a few weeks since we sat down and we chatted, with the international break that's just been... I don't know if I'm excited about the game coming up on Saturday now. I'm a bit disappointed because of a few injuries that the club have picked up over the international break. Obviously, Sasha Lukic being the main one of those. AJ, how do you feel about losing a player like Sasha? And who's going to replace him for the game on Saturday?
Pain, so much pain. Yeah, it's a big loss for us. I think it's probably just a straight swap for Berge, I'd imagine. I can't see anything else being the case unless he plans on putting Reed in there because he's got similar sort of work rate to Lukic. He's not as efficient, but works just as hard. If not
I think
harder.
one of the worrying things about the Lukic injury so far is that there's been no time frame put in at all, or even a real explanation into what's actually happened to his shoulder. I think he's really going out of his way to replicate João Palhinha this season. If we look at the fact that he's picked up 4 yellow cards already, trying to go for the quickest suspension in Fulham history, and now buggered his shoulder. He's proper looked at João Palhinha's start to last season and thought, I'll have some of that. So, it's a bit annoying, but we have to go with that. Drew, obviously Villa come down to the cottage on Saturday. They've had a really good start to the season. We've got a lot of respect for Villa in the sense of, what they did last season and the start to this season. What are you expecting to come our way on Saturday?
What am I expecting? What we've seen, really. They're a good footballing team. They deservedly got into the top 4 last season. They have got some real speed about them. From a selfish point of view, I'm very disappointed they're doing well because the Villians have one of the funniest message boards around when things are really going badly for them. Their dark sense of humor is pretty much unparalleled. In fact, I will be open about this. I actually used to read their message board when Fulham were playing badly because it used to cheer me up. There was someone out there suffering even worse than we were. Now that they're doing really well, they don't seem to be as gloomy and therefore not as funny. So Villains, you need to go on a massive losing streak just to cheer me the hell up because then you get funny. But in all honesty, they've got some cracking players. Duran, I think that's how you pronounce his surname. Forgive me if I've got that wrong. He seems to be scoring goals. A bit of a super sub. He was the one, AJ, you're our facts and figures man. Wasn't he the one that was subject of a massive bid in the summer? He nearly went somewhere. Is he the one I'm thinking of?
I believe so, and he's just signed a new contract as well over the last week.
I mean, I don't know any. Well, I do know some Villa fans, but I haven't spoken to them about this. They must be chuffed they've still got him because he seems to be providing a nice source of goals for them. I think it's going to be really tough, but I think it'll be really good game. And I think it will be more competitive than the Newcastle game. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him. I'm looking forward to seeing Duran. I'm looking forward to seeing Morgan. Obviously Watkins, who we all love to boo. But they've got a real good team.
I'm just looking at their results for the season so far in the Premier League. They're a bit of a mixed. I think they're still a bit of a mixed bag. They've had some really good home results, but away from home, they just about beat Leicester, and they drew away at Ipswich. We know when that's like going to Ipswich and trying to get a result there. That isn't easy. But I'm expecting, as you say, a much harder challenge than we've had so far at home this season. Villa, they are a very well managed squad. They have a lot of very young, exciting players to watch. I just don't know what we're going to get in terms of, what Villa turns up, because I think they've had a few, mixed performances in the last couple of games. I don't think they were that good against Man United when they drew 0-0, but they did then back that up with a massive result at home against Bayern Munich in the Champions League. So it's a very hard look at what's coming on from that. AJ, we look at Villa, and you think about the fact that they've been in the Premier League a year longer than we have. If you look at the going down and coming back up again, they're a club that a lot of clubs should be looking at to go, this is how we build. What do you think we should expect from Villa in terms of the game plan for coming into this, because they've got the squad that's been built for Champions League, let alone surviving the Premier League again this year?
I mean, yeah, there's a strong argument of obviously looking at them as an example piece for how a club should be run, especially with some of the decisions our board have made over long periods that we were competing with Aston Villa in the Championship and then staying in the Premier League and stuff like that. But equally, they were on the brink of relegation themselves under the whole Gerrard fiasco. So it's a lot to do with Unai Emery and his power of recruitment in terms of why their squad is what it is right now. And I think he is our biggest worry, in the sense that Marco Silva should be other clubs' biggest worries. He can out-tactician pretty much any manager in the league, and I'd say there's a solid, strong argument, and Villians will probably agree with me, that he is one of, if not the best manager in the league, probably outside of Pep Guardiola. And even then, there's an argument that Pep Guardiola has never managed a club on the brink of death and brought them into the Champions League sort of thing. So he's an incredible manager, and it's going to be a really tough ask for us with a very strong squad that's got a lot of depth behind it and picking up players that have just been on great form. So it's going to be a tough challenge for us. Our saving grace is that their away form isn't stupendous, but that's very Fulhamish of us that we would go and change that for them.
Yeah, obviously, let's talk about Fulham a bit. It's what we're here to do anyway. But we look at this game on Saturday. What are you expecting, Drew, in terms of a starting 11? We know we've got no Lukic. We know that Calvin Bassey and Alex Iwobi have had a less than enjoyable week away with Nigeria, with some antics going on in an airport and then being stuck there for so long. But what are you expecting Fulham to do in terms of a starting 11 on Saturday?
I think AJ's kind of preempted this. Silva seems to have a settled side. By and large, your back four probably from left to right: Robinson, Bassey, Anderson, and Tete. Midfield, I think AJ's right. I think Berge will come in for Lukic. I think that he may revert back to Pereira and ESR. And then left and right, Iwobi, Traore, and Raul up front. It'll be interesting to see what he does about the Villa midfield, because it is a very good midfield. I mean, they bought the boy from Everton. AJ, help me out here. Is it Onana?
Onana.
Yeah, powerful number 8.
I wish you had said what's his name.
No, I really rated him. I knew he was not going to come to a team like us, but I think he's a really, really good player. Concert at the back. I do wonder if Silva goes a little bit more defensive in midfield, because they are very good in transition, Villa. But I think Silva backs his team, and he's getting Fulham to the point where they shouldn't really be, especially after the Man City game, they shouldn't be really fearing anyone. They understand they're not going to win them all, but Fulham are getting to the point where they don't feel that there's anyone in the league they can't fight with. They might not win, but they're not going to be overawed. So it'll be interesting if Silva goes for what I call his first 11. I reckon that means he fancies it. I reckon that means he fancies it, and that factors in the point, Ash, you made about Villa away from home. Going back to the Ipswich game, I think, and if memory serves me correctly, it was Villa that threw that because Ipswich came storming back. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that might say more about. I think Villa may have underestimated Ipswich. I don't think they'll do that with us because we're more established and they know more about us. So yeah, it'll be interesting. They'll come to win because they'll fancy their chances. But if Silva goes with that team that I've mentioned and plays both Pereira and Smith Rowe, my hunch is Silva will have told him he fancies it. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Obviously, AJ, we've been having a discussion the last couple of weeks about, looking at our strikers and how we attack games. I'm with Drew in this one in the sense that I think we may go slightly more defensive midfield wise, like we did against Man City because of Villa's transition. Are you expecting then for us to play similarly up front as we did against Man City away, or are you expecting us to be a little bit more focal on attack in terms of trying to get the ball in the box way more than we did, as well as we did at Man City? What are you expecting for us going forward?
I think it's actually going to be the complete opposite. I feel that we're going to have a lot of possession and actually be given a lot of possession by this Villa side so that they can be very dangerous on the offset and the counter-attack. And I think that's seems to be Emery's style of play when he feels comfortable against a team that potentially struggle to create opportunities when in possession. And I think that's a fair thing to say about us. If you look at us last season, especially, there was only 2 games that we won where we had more than 55% possession. And one of those was a League Cup game against third or second rate team. I can't remember who it was specifically, but that's more to my point. We struggle when we're just controlling the ball constantly. And I think with Villa's complete and utter speed that Drew mentioned earlier, they could be very, very dangerous if they allow us to have the ball and wait for us to make a mistake.
Yeah, I completely understand what you mean. It's going to be a tough one, and we look forward to seeing what happens on Saturday. I go into the game sort of a bit edgy, but I'm still confident for them at home. Marco's done that with us now as a fan base as well as a team. You can see it when they play that, we as Drew says, we will fight. We don't have that inferiority complex that we seem to have had in the past. Now we go into games no matter who we're playing with, knowing that we can maybe do something.
That's not me. I checked the house was
empty. We'll
empty
put our gloves on
before I
and
broke
hopefully get a few hits in. As always, guys, before we wrap up and we talk about something else that we want to talk about, let's look at the teams for Saturday. Give us a score prediction, a Fulham player and an Aston Villa player to look out for Saturday who you think are going to be crucial. Drew, can you start with you?
I've mentioned Duran, so I'll probably go with him because he seems to be doing well. I know they've got other players, Rodgers and Watkins and the like, but I'm quite intrigued to actually see Duran, especially. Was it Chelsea, AJ, that came in? Who was it that came in from
West
AJ?
Ham. It was
West Ham. Sorry, Ash.
Yeah.
There was 3 clubs apparently in for him at one point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite intrigued about him. I am quite intrigued about him because he does seem to be trending upwards. So Villa may be very pleased that they've still got him. I think he signed a new contract as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
In terms of, sorry, Ash, what was your question? One for Fulham, one for Villa, was it?
A Fulham player, yeah. One for Fulham, one for Villa, and the score prediction.
Score prediction. I think there's going to be a goal in it. I think I could see it going 2-1 either way. I'm going to pick us because, I'm a homer. But I could easily see it going the other way. For Fulham, I don't know, really. I mean, Traore has been our leading light this season. And everyone knows, I've got a bit of a man crush on him because he's just amazing when he gets full flight. But I don't know.
He's got
Reece
that
Nelson.
protection.
Yeah, exactly. Use the same job as me, AJ. I'll go Reece Nelson, but he'll be off the bench, I imagine. But Reece Nelson, yeah, why not Reece?
Okay. AJ, and yourself?
I think from a Fulham perspective, we're going to be seeing a lot more from our defenders than our forwards. Not because we're going to be bombarded, but because it's going to come down to the crucial moments. And I think someone like Kenny Tete will be very important in those situations with last-ditch tackling and strong play. It'll also be interesting to see how Anderson copes with having a very direct threat against him for the first time this season since he's joined us, with a lot of pace in behind him. But my player to watch out for would be Tete. In terms of Villa, I think it might actually be Ross Barkley if he plays. It feels like the sort of game where they've just had Champions League football, they've just had the international break, where Emery might choose to start someone like Barkley against us because he sees us as the sort of opposition that Barkley would do something quite strong against. So I'd keep an eye out on Barkley. Score prediction, it feels like a draw. I'm going to say 2-2.
The old Desmond. Okay. I don't disagree with that. I think it's a good shout on Barkley. You know, I think they have a Champions League game on Wednesday. So Tuesday or Wednesday. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised to see if they did throw a couple of sort of spanners in the works in the way we're thinking with that. But, you know, as every team that's in the Champions League now, they've built a squad that they've got quite interchangeable players. So I imagine that would be, you know, we'll see that. For me personally, you know, I think a player for Fulham to watch. I don't think Drew's that wrong looking at players coming off of the bench, coming on, someone who might make a difference. And for that, you know, I agree that Nelson's could definitely have an impact on the game. But for me, I want to see ESR get back in and have another really good game. You know, he would have been disappointed that he didn't start against Man City, because, you know, he's been nothing but great for us so far this season. So I'd like to see him start the game really well and push on from there. So ESR for me is the player that I'm going to say, you know, is the one to look out for us. For them, you know, it's really hard to pick one player. I think they're really good up front. You know, they got Watkins, they got Duran, and they got, you know, some really good midfielders in on and stuff like that. But I really do think that this could be one of those games where Emi Martinez, you know, could really be the difference for Villa because he's a really good goalkeeper and he really commands his box. And I think he's another one of those goalkeepers that are proving that, you know, Arsenal don't know anything when it comes to picking their number one goalkeepers because, you know, he is outstanding. And he's a complete shithouse, and I love that. You know, is one of those things, isn't it? In terms of a scoreline, I'm going to go 3-1 to us, but I wouldn't be surprised if we lost 3-1 as well. You know, I think it'd be one of those games that I reckon it'll be 2-1 to one of us, 10 minutes left, and it'll be a case of, you know, someone scoring on a counter attack because they're being penned back, trying to get an equaliser. But I'm going to be brave and say 3-1 Fulham, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's 3-1 to Villa. Quickly before we go, guys, there is one more thing I want to talk about. We had the news today, this being Tuesday, that 7 Fulham fixtures have been picked up for TV, and because of that, we've seen some sort of date changes for games. It's annoying as a match-going fan. I want to sort of run it by you and your feelings on it because obviously, at the moment, looking at the list now, the Fulham Brighton game has been moved from Tuesday to the Thursday the 5th, with a 7:30 kickoff rather than 7:45. The Arsenal home game has been moved from Saturday 7th to Sunday 8th with a 2 p.m. kickoff. The Southampton game has been moved from the Saturday 21st December to Sunday the 22nd of December, also now a 2 p.m. kickoff. Chelsea away on Boxing Day hasn't changed, but obviously it's been selected to be on Amazon Prime. Fulham Ipswich has been moved from Saturday the 4th of January to Sunday the 5th of January with a 2 p.m. kickoff. West Ham away has been moved from a Tuesday to still on the Tuesday. It was moved forward 15 minutes for kickoff time to 7:30. And Fulham Man United on the 25th of January has been moved to Sunday, the 26th of January, with the worst kickoff time I've ever seen a game of football have on a Sunday, a 7 p.m. Sunday kickoff. Drew, what are your feelings on a 7 p.m. Sunday kickoff and the other changes that have sort of come into place there?
AJ, get the bleep button ready. This is nonsense. This is nonsense. It's been moved. It's just holy. I'm also it's moved so it can be on TNT Sports. Okay, presumably for an American audience. Yeah, which I don't understand, because anyone who knows anything about American sports, Sunday is their football, or handball as it really should be, is their football day, and this will cut across a lot of their games. So I don't understand the rationale behind it at all. I don't want to be, I mean, I love the cottage, but I don't want to be there on a Sunday night. The only saving grace is for Man United fans. Yeah, because Sunday, 7 o'clock, they'll still be at home. They'll still get home by 10 because they all live in London. Maybe it's been moved for them. Maybe it's been moved for them. Maybe because their season and their club is so shit. Yeah. Someone's thought, you know what? Right. You know what? Okay. Monday morning's coming up. Yeah. They want to get home in time for work. What we'll do, we'll put the game on at 7. So they'll all be in bed by 10. I mean, they absolutely suck. Their club sucks. But the biggest thing that sucks is this kickoff time. Of all the times that have been moved, this one is the worst. And, you know, this is why you get the chance you get. To be fair, this isn't about Sky Sports. But this is why you get a lot of older Fulham fans, like myself, saying they missed the championship. You know, they missed the championship. I mean, especially over the holiday period. I mean, you know, you boys have got kids. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But as always, it's the fan that comes last. The Arsenal game being moved back 24 hours really doesn't do us any favours at all, because with us now playing on a Thursday instead of a Tuesday, we get 3 days rest instead of 4. I doubt Arsenal are playing on a Thursday night. I really do. So what was a difficult game against Arsenal is going to be even more difficult. I had a sinking feeling. That because we started the season so well, we were going to be flexed in terms of our fixtures. And 7. AJ, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I am not aware of so many Fulham fixtures when they've been in the Premiership being flexed in such a short period of time.
Especially not when our first third of the season hasn't had any.
Yeah, exactly. They've seen us beat Newcastle. They've seen us put on probably the Man City game was probably one of the games of the season. It was a proper.
They probably looked at that and thought, "Oh my god, we've missed a absolute."
Yeah,
hammer.
exactly. I mean, it was a proper gunfight, and then they've and so we've been moved. And don't get me wrong, I suppose in a way it's a compliment, but it's for us that attend the games, it's and especially for those of us who've got kids and family commitments, it is a massive pain in the arse. Yeah, especially if you're a Fulham fan that's having to travel. You know, especially you're a Fulham fan that's having to travel, like getting into London on a Sunday night and then getting out again. You know, you're probably going to be traveling further than the Man U fans. Let's be honest. You know, that's just not funny. But anyway, ran over. Sorry, AJ. Sorry, Ash.
That's fine. I mean, even if you look at that and take off Fulham tinted glasses, because quite a few of those fixtures, you could say, fortunately, quote unquote, I don't think it's fortunate, but fortunately, are home games. So they would argue that it's not a huge deal for us. Okay, let's ignore that for a second. The away fans that are then screwed by this because they've got to make changes to holidays that they've had to take because of Tuesdays and Thursdays being swapped, or having to book off a day off work on Monday for the Man United fans that will actually travel from Manchester and won't be able to get back home in time after that ridiculous Sunday fixture. It's just absurd. from an away fan perspective that these changes continue to happen across the league with no consideration.
I'm just looking
travelling
at
fans.
picking up that point, AJ. I'm just looking at it. Probably the fans that are going to be got the biggest journey are probably the Ipswich fans, because everyone else is pretty much within an hour and 10 minutes of London. I mean, you look at Brighton, as Ash, well, it's the M20, it's the M23 up into Croydon. You look at Southampton, AJ, M3 straight up into southwest London.
Yeah.
But it's still you're still moving games into like over the Christmas period, and it's just,
you got to think trains as well.
Exactly,
a lot.
Yeah, exactly. You're bringing with the Christmas period. It's not a lot of fun. But it is what it is. But the Arsenal one is the one that does me. Because the game preceding that, which one was that? Was it the Brighton one, or was it the Brighton one? There's been
the Brighton game's now been moved to the 5th, so we've got 3 days between the games.
It's a Thursday night football. Thursday night football, really? Thursday? No. Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm sounding old here, but it used to be Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays.
Yeah, I think for me, right, this is when everyone moans, especially match-going football fans, about the fact that there's too many changes in football that are affecting match-going football fans, right? There's nobody who wants to be getting home from Craven Cottage on a Sunday night at 9:30, 10 p.m. I've only got to go from Fulham to Croydon, and the thought of that train journey home on a Sunday night that late already makes me not want to go to the game. And it's Fulham Man United. You know how bad that just saying that is so bad. It's a game that we should all be proper up for going to, just because of what the reverence of the game is. So it's really frustrating that, talking from a football fan's point of view, not even looking at it from Fulham point of view, nobody wants 7 p.m. games on TV on a Sunday. Nobody does. Super Sunday's bad enough when they get their 12:30, their 2 o'clock, and their 5:30 game. Nobody wants a 12:30, 2 o'clock, 5:30, and 7 p.m. game. The only ones that do are people that have never been to a football game in their life other than watching it on their TV. Because
we're back to Man United,
you do not realize how much it puts people out, and it's going to be an absolute killer. I don't want to moan about it too much. We could have done a whole episode just on moaning about fixture changes and stuff, and there's bound to be more of these arguments that come up over the season. I wanted to just bring it in and talk about it because I feel like we needed to put a 2 pence into it, because I've seen already on Twitter that there's been a lot of Fulham fans that are saying that they are really worried about being penalised on it, especially because the club are looking like they're going to be putting in a penalty for people that don't turn up to games, or a certain amount of games with their season tickets. I believe there already is one, but I don't know the ins and outs in it. I'm now going to have to look into it because I am slightly concerned about fixture changes. I do know that it doesn't suit anybody who's physically going to games on a Sunday night at 7 p.m. Nobody wants that. Nobody who has work on a Monday morning wants that and go into games. Nobody who has kids to look after all day over a weekend and then has to go to a game in the evening wants that. It's not great. But we'll move on, guys. We'll look forward to the game that's coming up this weekend. We're all super excited about Villa coming down. It should be a really great game. Hopefully we'll get a good result. And we'll meet up again over the weekend, and we'll review the game. Hopefully we have a lot of positives to talk about from a Fulham point of view and a good victory, and then we can be happy when we look at fixture changes and we'll bring them on. But who knows? AJ, Drew, thanks very much for joining me again for this week's preview. Please, everyone, like and subscribe to the show. Share it with your Fulham mates. Let us know your comments below. What you feel about the fixture changes, what your hopes are for the Villa game coming up. Other than that, we'll see you next week with a review and a preview for next week's game. Come on, you Whites!